The courtroom was dead quiet. Judge Harrison's voice cut through the space like thunder. Angry, sharp, impossible to ignore. In this courtroom, I am the law, he declared, making it clear who was in charge. He just kicked out a group of elderly people sitting in the front row, snapped at attorneys, and even threatened the clerks. Everyone else stayed quiet, scared to push back, until Ibrahim Traoré walked in. Calm, collected, wearing a small, confident smile. Your Honor, Traoré said softly, almost quietly. Maybe you should take a look at these documents. Now, what could be in those papers? And how did it happen that less than a quarter of an hour later, Judge Harrison was being led away in handcuffs? That day, tension filled the halls of the International Tribunal. Outside courtroom 4B, journalists, legal watchers, and human rights folks waited anxiously, sensing something big was about to go down. Inside, Harrison's voice echoed again and again. How many times do I have to say this? He snapped at the bailiff, pointing sharply. The thermostat stays at 19 degrees, not a degree higher. If you're cold, bring a coat. Then he spun toward the stenographer, eyes blazing. If you don't type faster, you'll be out before lunch. The court staff practically tiptoed around him, nerves stretched tight. Journalists and observers in the gallery watched as Harrison stormed in, his robe dragging behind him like a dark cloud. Clear the front row, he barked, pointing at a group of local elders. I don't want to see those pins or justice slogans. Move them back. His power trip was obvious, but nobody dared challenge him. Nobody, until now. Your Honor, his assistant said, voice shaky. The president of Burkina Faso is here to speak for the accused. Harrison sneered, barely hiding his contempt. Great. Another idealist from the global south, trying to lecture me on law and order. He muttered under his breath, tugging at his robe. What's next? Quoting ancient proverbs as evidence. Then Traoré entered. No need for bodyguards or fancy titles. Just his presence was enough to command attention. Even the skeptics leaned in. Listen carefully, Mr. Traoré, Harrison said with a sneer. In this courtroom, your presidency means nothing. You're just another outsider with misplaced ideals. Traoré stayed calm. I didn't come to argue titles, Your Honor. I came to bring the truth. Harrison laughed, dry and dismissive. Let me guess. Some conspiracy from your country? Another noble resistance story? He leaned forward, voice dripping with disdain. I've silenced louder men than you. But sure, go ahead. Impress us. Traoré gave a respectful nod, then opened his file. Whatever he was about to show wasn't something anyone, not even Harrison, was ready for. Clearing his throat, the defense attorney began. Your Honor, today we're here because Mrs. Henderson, a well-known entrepreneur and someone who's done a lot for the community, is accused of fraud. Harrison cut him off sharply. Save me the fairy tales. She's accused of fraud. That's all that matters. But her charitable work, Traoré pressed on, is key to understanding the whole picture. I said skip it. Harrison slammed his gavel hard. I'm not turning this hearing into some sob story about family or faith. Slowly, Traoré stood. With respect, Your Honor, her business and community work are fundamental to the facts of this case. Oh, I know your type, Mr. Traoré, Harrison spat. You think justice is sentimental, that you can hide behind compassion. Not in my courtroom. Traoré continued. The records will show that every transaction was legal and transparently documented. Harrison leaned in, eyes narrow. Manipulated, hidden, he snarled. I've seen you type before. Self-proclaimed champions of justice, but always with dirty hands. It was a beat. How many cases exactly have you seen, Your Honor? Traoré asked steadily. The judge gripped his gavel tighter. Careful, Mr. Traoré. You're close to contempt. But Traoré didn't flinch. Calmly, he placed the document on the evidence display. Exhibit A, he said. Bank statements showing the foundation receiving funds through legit channels. Verified. Clean. Objection. The prosecutor shouted. This wasn't part of discovery. A sly smile spread on Harrison's face. Trying to sneak in last-minute evidence, Mr. President? I thought you'd have more discipline. Page 47 of the discovery file. Your Honor, Traoré said smoothly, holding up a signed receipt, submitted and acknowledged by your office 3 weeks ago. Harrison's jaw twitched. That's impossible. I personally reviewed all discovery documents. Maybe, Traoré said softly, you should ask your clerk about the documents delivered on March 15th. The clerk's face turned pale. Harrison glared at her, then forced himself to stay composed. These documents are inadmissible. On what grounds, Your Honor? Traoré asked, voice firm but calm. Because I said so. Harrison's voice boomed. I am a judge here. Or have you forgotten that in your eagerness to grandstand? I haven't forgotten anything, Your Honor, Traoré replied, with a quiet emphasis that made Harrison's face twitch, including international evidence laws, which clearly state, you dare lecture me about the law. Harrison shook with fury, authority slipping like sand through clenched fists. I've sat on this bench longer than you've been pretending to be a hero, Mr. Traoré. One more word, and I'll have you removed. The gallery stirred uneasily. Even the prosecutor shifted in his seat. But Traoré stayed put. He reached for the next document and placed it gently on the table. Before you act hastily, Your Honor, Traoré went on, spreading out the documents with careful precision. These financial records clearly show. Stand up straight when you address my court. Harrison barked, but Traoré didn't flinch. His posture was perfect, voice steady and clear. I was saying these records prove every transaction in this case was fully transparent. Harrison leaned forward, voice dropping to a cold hiss. Let me make this clear, Mr. Traoré. In this courtroom, I decide what evidence is heard. I decide what matters. I'm the law here. Understand? Crystal clear, Your Honor, Traoré replied evenly. However, international protocol and evidence law state. Don't you dare bring protocols into my courtroom. Harrison shouted, voice rising. I've forgotten more about law than you'll ever learn waving flags and giving speeches. Even the prosecutor looked shaken now, watching Harrison's rage spiral. In fact, Harrison growled, mention one more rule, one more regulation, and you'll be joining your client in contempt. That's not a warning. It's a promise. Traoré didn't flinch. He met Harrison's gaze calmly. Are you threatening to imprison a sitting head of state for presenting documented evidence in court? Harrison's face twisted with anger. In here, you're just another man who doesn't know his place. One more word, and I'll have the bailiff clear this entire courtroom. Try me, Traoré said softly. The courtroom fell completely silent. Even the bailiffs hesitated, unsure. No one moved. Then, Traoré pulled from his files something the judge hadn't seen before, a sealed envelope. He set it gently on the table and looked up. Perhaps, Your Honor, you should look at this before things escalate further. Harrison's eyes narrowed. Are you defying me, Mr. Traoré? I promise you won't like what happens next. Before they could go on, Traoré shifted gears. I'd also like to address a pattern I've noticed in your recent rulings. Pattern? Harrison roared, slamming his gavel. The only pattern here is your disrespect. Sit down, or I'll have you removed. But Traoré stayed standing. The defense has the right. Rights, Harrison spat. In my courtroom, I decide who speaks, who stays, and what truth looks like. And right now, you're in contempt. Unease spread through the gallery. The court officers glanced nervously. Harrison barked, remove him now. The officers hesitated, eyes flicking between Traoré and each other. Something fell off. Did you not hear me? Harrison shouted. I gave an order. Then Traoré's voice cut through the tension sharply. Before you remove me, Your Honor, consider the international implications of a judge ordering the arrest of a sovereign head of state in open court without cause. Without cause. Harrison laughed hysterically. I am the cause. My word is law here. Actually, Your Honor, Traoré's tone dropped coolly. There's something else you should know about who gives orders in this courtroom. Harrison's hand, holding the gavel, began to tremble. For the first time, he realized he was losing control. Mr. Traoré, he snarled, I'm giving you one last chance to submit to my authority before I have you dragged out in handcuffs. Interesting choice of words, Traoré replied. Authority? Let's talk about that. There's nothing to discuss. Harrison shouted, pounding his gavel. I've made my ruling. Have you? Traoré asked, eyes locked on him. Because I don't recall any ruling on the actual evidence. You seem more interested in threats than truth. Harrison's face turned red with fury. How dare you question my authority? Yes, Traoré said. You've made that very clear. But what about Mrs. Henderson's case? What about the truth you're so eager to avoid? I'm not avoiding anything, Harrison hissed, but his eyes flicked again to the sealed envelope. Then Traoré lifted it slowly. You won't mind explaining why every piece of exculpatory evidence in this case has mysteriously vanished from the court record? And calmly, eyes fixed on the judge, he added, why key financial records were sealed without legal basis? Those files were sealed under my authority, Harrison snapped, voice rising with panic. I'm a law here. No one outranks me in this courtroom. A hush fell over the room. Even the prosecutor looked stunned. Harrison's confident mask was cracking fast, but Traoré just watched, steady and unshaken. Tell me, Your Honor, he said quietly, why do you care more about power than justice? Harrison's face flushed purple with rage. Officers, he barked, remove this man from my courtroom. Anyone who refuses will be held in contempt. But the officers didn't move. Their eyes locked, not on Harrison, but on the document Traoré was pulling from the sealed envelope. I'll tell you what's inside, Harrison snarled, try to regain control. More baseless accusations from some foreign crusader. Actually, Your Honor, Traoré interrupted calmly. These are the original documents from the Henderson case, the very ones that mysteriously disappeared from court records last week. Harrison's face went pale. That's impossible. Those files were. He stopped himself. Were what, Your Honor? Tro asked gently. Destroyed. Sealed. Or maybe tucked away in that special filing cabinet in your private chambers. You have no right to question how I manage files, Harrison barked, though his voice cracked. I run this court. I decide what stays and what vanishes. Tro nodded slowly, as if logging a confession. Indeed, he said, including which cases get dismissed and which evidence gets erased. Harrison slammed his hands on the bench. One more word, and I'll have you banned from this court. I have connections, Mr. Tro. Friends in places you can't imagine. Funny you mention connections, Tro said, tone sharp. Care to explain your meeting last Thursday night? The gavel trembled in Harrison's hand. What meeting? You're delusional. The one in the Liberty Building parking garage. Third floor. 11:47 p.m. Harrison's eyes widened. Or, Tro added, should we wait for the surveillance footage? You're spying on me? That's illegal. Arrest him. Harrison shouted. Still, the officers froze. Tro calmly laid photographs on the table. These photos, he said, tell a revealing story. I won't be blackmailed in my courtroom, Harrison howled. Remove those photos. That's an order. Blackmail. Tro raised an eyebrow. No, just evidence of public meetings. Unless, of course, there's something in these you don't want seen. Harrison's eyes darted between photos, the chamber door, and his slipping authority. This is all fabricated, he shouted. A political plot. A foreign interference scheme. Like the plot to bury Henderson's evidence, Tro said. Or the documents sealed in the Williams case last month. Those cases are sealed. Harrison gasped, panic blooming. You have no right. Actually, Tro said calm but firm, I do. As a head of state representing judicial oversight partners, I have every right to investigate misconduct, especially targeting reformist and minority defendants. Color drained from Harrison's face. You've been investigating me? Not just you. Tro answered, placing another photo. Why were 6 other judges at that garage meeting? Harrison's hands shook as he reached for water. This is inadmissible. I'm ordering every document sealed immediately. You can't seal what's already in international evidence systems, Tro said firmly. Everything here is recorded and streamed live to the Judicial Integrity Division. Harrison's eyes darted wildly. No escape. You can't investigate a federal judge without proper authorization. Tro raised a signed, stamped, dated document. This authorization was granted 3 months ago when anomalies first appeared. This is a setup, a witch hunt. I'm a judge of the Republic. You can't. Can't what? Tro interrupted. Can't reveal your systematic destruction of evidence? Your coordination with judges to silence defendants and protect illicit networks. Lies. Harrison screamed, spittle flying. You have no proof. No, Tro said steadily. We have your words. Every threat, every order to destroy files, every secret meeting, all recorded. Harrison froze. Recorded. Tro nodded solemnly. Your own security cameras, Your Honor. Your own phone. Your signature on classified files you thought hidden. You thought you were safe, Tro said, placing a final file. Want to hear the recording of you ordering your clerk to shred Henderson's evidence? The clerk broke down in tears. He made me do it. He said he'd ruin my career if I didn't. Silence. Harrison roared, voice hollow. His hands trembled violently as he reached for his gavel. A desperate symbol now. None of this is admissible. Seal and destroy all documents, he shouted, voice cracking. But Tro's next words hit like thunder. Why so desperate to destroy the truth, Your Honor? Harrison stood, robe disheveled, panic wild in his eyes. I won't stand for this. Arrest him. Seize those documents. Before officers could move, a calm voice echoed from the back. No arrest today, Your Honor. The only arrest will be yours. Heads turned. A team of international investigators, led by federal agents, marched forward, badges gleaming. No, you can't touch me. I have immunity. I have connections. Do you know who I am? We know exactly who you are, the lead agent said. Judge Arthur Harrison, head of one of the largest judicial corruption networks in history. This is a mistake. I can explain. The Foundation made me. They have leverage. He froze, realizing he'd said too much. The Foundation? Tro narrowed his eyes. You mean the one that deposited $100,000 into your Cayman account after every conviction against reformists? You set me up. This was a trap. No, Your Honor. You set yourself up. We just let you hang yourself. Harrison screamed, lunging for files. Agents restrained him. I'm the law. You can't arrest me. No, Tro said as handcuffs clicked. You were meant to serve the law. Instead, you corrupted it. As agents led Harrison away, Tro turned to the lead agent. Agent Roberts, move quickly on the other locations. What other locations? The 7 other courtrooms with your co-conspirators in session. Did you think we only watched you? Harrison's face drained. You can't execute simultaneous raids. Tro checked his watch. They're happening now. Murmurs filled the courtroom. Harrison slumped. You have no idea what you've done. Their reach, Tro cut him off, ends today. Every offshore account, sealed file, secret meeting, coming to light. Harrison's eyes darted wildly. But the Foundation, they'll never let you. The same one whose entire board is being arrested right now. Harrison's legs gave out. Agents held him. This can't be happening. It already has, Tro said, showing news alerts. As Harrison was led away, he spat. You think this changes anything? There will always be others like me. You can't stop us all. Tro nodded solemnly. You're right. There will always be those who abuse power. But there will also always be those who stand against them. That's what makes justice real. Not the robes, not titles, not fear. But courage, the courage to confront corruption and expose it.